Hello, I'm delighted to speak to you today. I'm a professor of health economics and health services research at the University of California, San Francisco. I'm in the Department of Clinical Pharmacy, School of Pharmacy, and I also direct a center that's called the UCSF Center for Translational and Policy Research on Personalized Medicine. So in a nutshell, what I do is I take this toolbox of social sciences approaches and methods, and I apply that toolbox to understanding health policy issues. And I look at how to balance three key issues for healthcare. The first one, the need to provide access to care and fairness in who gets care. The second one is the need to have high quality care so that people get the care that they need. And the third is to be efficient in providing high value care so that we don't waste resources. My field is called Health Services Research. It's the study of how we organize, deliver, and finance healthcare. Health services researchers work with basic and clinical researchers to solve health policy issues. My specific focus is taking this toolbox and applying it to emerging technologies. So the brave new world of personalized medicine is my main focus. Personalized medicine is the study of how we target healthcare to patients based on their genetics. I look at how we take these new discoveries about the genetic nature of disease and actually use those discoveries to improve patient outcomes, while also doing what's right for our healthcare system and society. In order to use these new technologies to improve patient outcomes, we must examine how technologies are translated from basic to clinical to policy research. So the goal is to have improved patient outcomes. And my work therefore builds on basic research, clinical research, and then policy research. My research addresses translational gaps. Who uses healthcare services, and do the underserved get equal access to healthcare as more advantaged populations? Why are there barriers to adoption, particularly of new technologies? What services have the most value to patients, providers, health plans, and society? Where are there gaps in what we know, and how can we address those gaps? Personalized medicine is here now and is the wave of the future. The human genome was first sequenced only 20 years ago, but since that time there's been an explosion in what we know about genetics and the nature of disease. We now need to figure out what to do with all this information so that we can use it to improve patient health. This figure shows the huge increase in the number of diseases for which genetic tests are available. In 1993, there were maybe 100. Now there are thousands. Cancer is the major one, but we also have genetic tests now for a number of very common diseases: heart disease, diabetes, asthma, mental conditions, and many more. And we can now sequence the entire genome. You'll see here in this graph that the cost of whole genome sequencing has dramatically fallen. In 2001, it was $100 million to sequence one person's genome. Now it's almost $1,000. For example, Steve Jobs, he died in 2011, and right before he died, he had his genome sequenced, and that was $100,000 just a year ago. But the bottleneck is no longer the technology itself and the cost of the technology. The bottleneck is what to do with all the information that we obtain when we sequence someone's genome. Because whole genome sequencing provides different types of information. For example, you may learn you have a disease right now that can be treated right now. You may learn that you have a terrible disease and there's no treatment for it. And maybe you don't want to know that. Or you may learn something, you have something, but we have no idea what it means for you to have something. So it provides all kinds of information, and we need to figure out what to do with it. So my research focuses on what is the value of personalized medicine in these new technologies. The first quote here is one side of the story. Research today will make it possible for doctors tomorrow to anticipate which treatments will work best for each person and deliver more effective, less expensive care. On the other hand, you have a former senior advisor saying, personalized medicine will be so expensive as to be unaffordable. So my research addresses these types of questions. What is the value of personalized medicine? Actually, we don't know. There's a huge gap between what we know now and what we need to know about the value of these technologies, because there are few analyses now of the tests that we already have in use. So my research addresses these gaps. Do we have enough information on which to make decisions about how to use new technologies? Let me give you one example. Women with breast cancer, a very common occurrence where we use genetics. We found in our research that women may not get the recommended genetic test, or testing may not be accurate, it may not be right, or the decisions on their treatment may be at odds with the test results. Now the big challenge, back to whole genome sequencing, having it all, the $1,000 genome. I'm currently doing a study on whole genome sequencing because, as I mentioned, there's all this information that we're getting, and we have to figure out how to use that and what is the value of that information. So I'm looking at things like, what information do patients and providers want to know? What should we report back to them? What don't they want to know? I'm looking at how health payers, guideline organizations, and society can facilitate the use of whole genome sequencing so that it's appropriate, but at the same time not opening Pandora's box. So to do all of this, I wear 4 hats. First of all, I'm primarily an academic. I'm fortunate to have training in both health services research and health policy. Health services research was from UC Berkeley. In policy analysis, my degree was from Harvard University. The second hat I wear is patients and providers. It's very important to understand their perspectives because without them, we wouldn't even need any health care. The third group I work with is government, because government and research groups drive a lot of what happens in health policy. So I work with groups such as the Institute of Medicine, President's Council of Advisors on Science and Technology, Genome Canada, and the Food and Drug Administration. And then finally, industry. I work with industry because without industry, we wouldn't have anyone to produce or to pay for these new technologies. So industry includes investors such as venture capital and private equity. It includes biopharmaceutical companies, pharmaceutical companies. And then it also includes health plans and the people that pay for health care. So in conclusion, there's a wonderful rule of thumb for American health care. Shift happens. Thank you.